There's no question. The China-US relationship is the most important relationship in the world in this century. But unfortunately, the bilateral ties currently are facing daunting challenges. Trade and investment are held back. Scientific and technological cooperation is blocked, and people-to-people exchanges are dampened. Earlier, I talked with Daniel Russell, who served as Assistant Secretary of State in the Obama administration, and Arne Vestad, a history professor at Yale University. Let's hear what they have to say on China-US relations.
In terms of the real mistake of the Trump administration, we saw Donald Trump allowed his very aggressive and hawkish advisors to say things and to take actions that didn't perhaps reflect what he believed or what he was trying to accomplish other than to get reelected, but that instead were aimed at embarrassing and punishing China for problems, but were not aimed at solving problems.
It's very easy to think that the United States being the hegemonic power and China being the rising power is somehow similar to the role that the United States and the Soviet Union played during the Cold War. And in reality, of course, it is very, very different. It's very different because China operates globally within a market-driven international economic system, which has been the reason why China has been able to move out of the terrible poverty that the country was living under during most of the Cold War, and establishing itself as an international great power.
I don't expect that President Biden will have any trouble competing with China in some areas and cooperating with China in other areas. And of course, he's not going to be disrespectful of China. He's not going to deliberately antagonize China just for ideological reasons.
It is a world that is much less stable than the Cold War world that we had. And first and foremost, it is a world where relatively small conflicts between great powers can escalate rather quickly into regional wars, and as it did in 1914, even into a world war. China, as well as the United States, need to be prepared for a world like that. And what they then have to do is to try to find common ground where it's possible to find common ground. But at the same time, try to define what the differences between them are in ways that do not lead to war.
I consider the election of Joe Biden as some kind of last-minute reprieve. We have a lot of catching up to do. We have a lot of ground to make up. And this time, there's no room for error. We cannot afford to mishandle or waste this opportunity. And the prospect of the U.S. and China putting our bilateral relationship back on a constructive track, one that can engage with the real challenges and the difficulties that we and the world faces. That prospect is by no means guaranteed. It's quite difficult. It's much more challenging than it was 4 years ago. I feel strongly, based on my own experience, that it's not just enough to say, okay, we're going to cooperate in public health, we're going to cooperate in climate change, we're going to cooperate in counterterrorism and counterproliferation. That's just not nearly enough. Both sides are going to have to make tremendous efforts, exercise good judgment, caution, restraint, but also show courage in tackling some areas of real difference